Hi, I'm Lauren Urban. I'm the community manager for D&D Beyond, and you're watching Two Geeks Talking.
Perfect. Thank you. Awesome.
It's like I'm in radio or something. It's like I
know.
did radio. I know what a stinger is.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso, because it says that down below on my lower thirds. We are joined today by a very talented person in her own right. I have been friends with her for a very long time, back in our Rooster Teeth days. She is now the community manager for D&D Beyond, and of course, a very talented professional oboist. I'm buttering you up here, Lauren, just because I can, and it's all true. We are joined today by the very ever-talented Lauren Urban, of course, also known as Obo Crazy on the Interverse. How are you doing today, Lauren?
I'm doing good. It's good to talk to you. I actually recently changed my Twitter handle. I go by Obo Lauren now. Yeah, trying to be better about that. So yeah, I'm still doing the Obo thing. I'm just now Obo Lauren. But I'm still happy to talk with you, and it's been a long time since that meeting on the sidewalk in Toronto when we went to go to that first RTX.
Yeah, back in 2005, I believe, something along that line. It's way back when.
Oh yeah, math and dates and age, all of those things. Yes, we are old. We are super old. No.
We are very old. Of course, Lena was there and all that other stuff as well too. So hopefully she's doing well.
I just texted her this morning. She's sweet. Doing great. Yeah. Awesome. So, but yeah, that is where we met all those years ago, and we have managed to, thanks to the internet, stay connected. So, but it has been a very long time since we chatted. So I was super happy to come on your show and chat about life, the universe, and D&D.
Yes. Speaking of D&D, this is new because the last time we chatted, the professional oboe is of course your one of your main gigs, obviously. But I didn't realize that you played D&D. How did you get involved with D&D?
So it started a bunch of years ago. When I was really young, I played for a tiny bit. My parents bought the red box back in the 80s when everything was all about D&D was considered demon worship, and I couldn't find any friends to play. And so I had it, and I have fond memories of like playing RPGs in general. I did a lot of video games and stuff. So I always knew about D&D. And I never got a chance to really play it until actually 4th edition came out. And this would have been in about 2009, 2010. I was moving to Seattle to, basically, I'd finished up a whole bunch of school. I had moved around the country a bunch looking for gigs. And I was moving to Seattle because I'd finished up some more training and was looking for a place to be that I could be close to my then boyfriend, now husband, Luke McKay at the time. And I had some friends in Seattle, and that was close enough to where he was living in Vancouver that it was not flying across the country to see him, which was so much better. And I had no money, and I had a couple friends, but not a lot of time because I was job hunting and trying to make connections. And I'd been listening to the Acquisitions Incorporated podcast that Chris Perkins was doing back in the days and where D&D was all just podcasts because it was just that one. And I loved listening to those shows, and I wanted to play D&D, and they had re-released the Red Box for 4th edition, which gave me some nostalgia. So I found a local game store that was running games for people, and I joined, and I met a whole bunch of awesome people, and we started to play, and that became kind of a weekly, bi-weekly thing that I did for years and years and years. And then just around the time that 5th edition started, I was going to the RTX convention that we mentioned on a regular basis, and there was a group that did a charity event before the convention opened. So basically Thursday night they did a big fancy dress up charity auction, mostly silent auction, and still had no money, but wanted to help raise money for charity they were doing for Child's Play and Operation Supply Drop, and some really amazing charities. And so it was suggested to me, hey, why don't you run a D&D game for people? And so that's what I put in for the charity, was the top 4 people who donated to the charity would get to play, and I'd run a game one of the evenings. And we raised a little bit of money and had a lot of fun. And a group of us got together in a lobby in a hotel somewhere on, I think, the Saturday night. And we played a game. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. And so that became a thing I did for a couple of years, in where I would run a game, or we would put together a group of people who would play, and then the donations would be towards doing other, influencing the game, or being able to come in and play the boss monster or something like that. And one of the years, the group of us that got together, we were able to actually get a panel room. Instead of it being a kind of on the fly wherever we could find space, we actually submitted for a panel and got to play D&D on stage in a panel room for RTX, and it got advertised as one of the events. And so I put this group together of a bunch of friends of mine who a bunch of us had played D&D a couple of times together, but we were basically just friends from Rooster Teeth. And we still did the charity thing, and it became being able to pick some of the events that happened and influence the game in a certain way. And then we just played D&D for, I think we got an hour and a half. I think that was the panel. And we had a ton of fun, and the tiny little room we were in was packed to the brim, and it was great. And then the rest of the weekend, people were like, hey, are you going to put that as a podcast? Are you going to keep playing? Because a bunch of us were doing podcasts at the time. Jack Elthel is one of my players, and he was doing Late Night Jenga Jam, which was a podcast on a weekly basis. And so people just kind of expected, hey, are you going to keep doing this? And we had a ton of fun playing. So we decided to keep playing and put it out as a podcast. And that's how Dungeon Drunks was born. And it continued to just be like this fun thing that I did for years and years. And then Wizards of the Coast is based here in Seattle. They're in Renton. And Greg Tito, who's the communications manager and just an awesome, awesome person, had put out on Twitter back when their show that they did on a weekly basis was just a podcast. He put out on Twitter basically a call for who should I interview? Who should we bring on the show? And I was super lucky, and I think we have some very kind fans who are like, hey, Lauren's right there in Seattle. You should just interview her. Sure, why not? So Greg had me at the studio. I got to meet a whole bunch of people at Wizards of the Coast, and I was on Dragon Talk, and we had a ton of fun. And they were starting to move towards this newfangled thing, Twitch streaming. Something that never happens. Hey, we're going to be playing D&D online, and we're going to convert our podcasts into live streams. And when they were starting to build out their schedule, they asked me to DM one of the campaigns that was going on. And because they were putting together a campaign with some people who were working at Rooster Teeth at the time, and I was local to Seattle, and it all just kind of worked out. And so I ran a game for them. And very slowly, I just started working more and more in the industry. When they were building out their schedule, I started working as a moderator for their Twitch chat. So they put me under contract so that I could help. As being a moderator on Twitch, most people, when they hear that, they recoil a little bit, because Twitch can be a gaming space, a video gaming space, and that can be a very antagonistic group of people. But Dungeons and Dragons players, you want to play with other people, and so people tend to get along. And so a lot of being a Twitch moderator for D&D is informational. It's, oh, here's backstory, here's character information, here's where you can find these people, here's more information about the world, here's more information. There's just a lot of people who want to know stuff when they show up to a Twitch chat. And so I was doing that for about a year. And I was still playing music and doing other jobs. And then eventually that became my main job, and I was doing music in the evening. And then there was this company called D&D Beyond that I got to meet a bunch of the people who worked at, because I was working in the D&D world. And they're like, we need a community manager, and you're kind of already doing that. Would you come be our community manager? And I said, okay, yeah, sure. This sounds fun. So that's how I got into working for D&D. Was I started playing, and then I just kept doing more and more, and I met the right people, and it's a weird story, and I've told it a bunch of times, and every time I get to the end of it, and I wonder how I managed to do all of that. I was super lucky. A lot of it was just being in the right place at the right time, a lot of amazing people that I got to work with, and it's been a blast. And so that's become my life, is my day job, quote unquote, is I work in D&D, and then I go out and I play oboe at night and on the weekends.
That's not a bad gig to have. You're passionate about D&D, and the fact that you're able to work with a great company and a great community in itself is truly inspiring.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's an amazing community. It is as I said, it's you hear about the horror stories of community managers, and those are 100% all true. I know a bunch of them. But there's something about it's D&D players. When you want to play this game, you're essentially looking to interact with other people. You can play D&D one-on-one, or there's ways in where you can kind of play by yourself, but the core of the game is the party experience. And even if you're playing something that's very number crunchy and old school dungeon delving and all of our characters are going to die, you still want that interaction with other people. And so that community tends to be just inherently very supportive of each other, and very uh the drive to be inclusive and welcoming and not antagonistic is very strong. And so it's always a pleasure whenever I jump into a Twitch chat or go onto Discord or go onto our forums or wherever I'm hanging out on the internet. People are in general incredibly kind, and it's just a pleasure to hang out with people.
I've never played D&D before. For those that are kind of just trying to start out and have no real knowledge about what D&D can bring to their lives, what would you suggest?
So the elevator pitches, D&D is shared storytelling, and where you get to do whatever you want with some rules. And that's basically what D&D is. There's some rules. You get together with some friends. There's a dungeon master who is helping to guide the story. But ideally what it is you are, as a group, telling a story, and you're inhabiting a character in a world that is telling the story. And the appeal for a lot of people, there's various and sundry different ways of playing D&D. It's kind of like going to see a movie. When you say, I'm a movie buff, or that you like going to the movies, everybody tends to have a genre that they like. People who are interested in going to see an action adventure movie may not be as interested in a romance or in a horror movie. All those movies can be excellent movies. It just depends on what your style is. And D&D is the same. There's kind of your classic adventure, be a hero D&D that everybody thinks about, which is a great place to start, because it is, at its core, it is group wish fulfillment. We get to be these powerful people who go out and save the world, or save each other, or save a town, or go on epic adventures and get amazing loot and tell amazing stories about heroic deeds. And when we fail, it's in a fantasy world and where there's really no consequence, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay to have tragic endings, and then to pick back up the pieces and try again, or get back up and succeed the second time. So it is at its core epic wish fulfillment. It's even when it is dark and gritty and as realistic as a fantasy game with magic can be. It's still that this is a world and where I'm getting to tell my own story, and I'm sharing it with other people. I'm getting to help them tell a story. And that's really inspiring. And it's one of those things where it can feel daunting until you actually do it, until you sit down and go, oh, wait. Oh, I'm just storytelling. And yeah, every once in a while I got to roll dice. And every once in a while, things don't go the way that I would like them to, but I'm working with a bunch of people, and we're all working together to do something amazing. And and that's once again why the community is so good, because when you're sitting down, these aren't people that you're playing against. Even the dungeon master, this is someone who is helping you to tell an epic story. They are putting in front of you the tools that you need for your character to go do amazing things. And the way it changes people afterwards, because there's a safety net. This is an adventure that is not real, and there's no consequences to the stuff that happens here. And if your character dies, it can be sad, but oh well. Or if you fail at a quest, or whatever happens. But most of the time what then happens is there are these moments of triumph, or there are these moments of interconnected role play, or there's these moments of emotion that you have that turn it into my character does a thing to I have done a thing. People who talk about their D&D stories, people who talk about the game I had last night, they're not saying my character, or maybe they start to say my character did this, and my character said, and then the party did this, and eventually what happens is you say I did this and I did that, and we got together and we did this. And that's because you get to inhabit that world and those characters in a way that is immersive in a way that you can't really get in a lot of other mediums. So it's shared storytelling in where you get to be the hero, and that's something that I think everyone can use at some point in their life.
I like that. Now, obviously, you're saying this is a group of people coming together to share their lives and their stories. Well, their characters' lives and their stories. Is this great for both introverted and extroverted persons?
Absolutely. One of the best things about D&D is because it's malleable to the group, because it is whatever the group wants and needs at the time, and can be individually tailored. It's a bunch of friends working together. And so if you've got someone who's slightly more introverted, who's maybe more interested in sitting back and participating in a way that's more listening in on what's going on and maybe just inserting in specific places, that's completely fine. You know, if you want to be that person who doesn't speak very often, but when you do, everybody listens, that's can be super fun. And then there's extroverted people who are going to dive into being a flamboyant character that maybe talks too much, or maybe is always the face of the group. You know, it is it's all about working together to find that place that everybody's comfortable with. And introverted, often it doesn't mean that you don't want to interact socially. It just often means that you're someone who's slightly more picky or choosier about the moments that you have. And so the comfort of doing it with friends or with people who want you to have fun, because once again, this is a collaborative thing. So this is, you know, if you're more interested in sitting back and being observant, or maybe today when we get together and play, you're just not as energetic as you normally are. You're not as enthusiastic. You want to play because it makes you feel fun and you want to help your friends. But today's just a day you're not, you know, you're feeling and it can help because your friends can see them, be like, all right, today you just kind of need to enjoy the ride more, and so we'll help provide the ride. And then you can do that for other people as that flow changes, like, oh, today's the day where you need to sit back and just enjoy the ride a bit more, and so I'll help drive the ship. So it's like any group activity, your friends and the people who are involved help create the atmosphere that is comfortable for everybody, and it's good for everybody. It takes a little work. It takes trust. And so a lot of times D&D groups, especially if you've met, you know, if it's a random game you've picked up online, or if you're joining a pre-made group, or if you're putting something together where these are people that you know, but maybe you're not friends with, it can take some time to kind of build up that trust of, all right, these are people who know me really well now, and they know how I prefer to play, and they're going to help cater to it, and I will help cater to them. But that's, once again, kind of the joy of this game is it is so malleable to the needs of the group that it works for everybody. At least that's my opinion.
Well, it sounds interesting. It's something that I definitely would love to experience at some point in time in my life. I just haven't had a chance to. But it is something I see groups, I see local game stores have these, especially when I've been playing Magic the Gathering or whatever. And I see them form their groups and do their things. And it's interesting to see their interactions with each other, where you have, you know, someone who would normally be a soft-spoken person is more boisterous for some reason because they're embodying their character type deal. Speaking of characters, though, is there, when you're creating a character, is there anything that you should be starting out with? Is there something like either a pre-made character, or should you dive into your own custom character creation?
Both, either, whatever you like. My suggestion for new players is always talk to your DM and talk to the other players. both because they can help. Either they're new and you're all going to work through it together, or often the DM tends to have a little more experience, although not always. Sometimes you're the DM because a group you want to play and someone needs to be the DM. And so, all right, well, I guess I'll do it. So you can all kind of learn together. There are pre-gen characters. There are plenty of available pre-generated characters you can start with. There are a whole bunch of ways that you can just create your own. Come to D&D Beyond. We'll walk you through character creation right on the site. It's my suggestions always are talk to your DM and your players about what you want and what they want, and then do the thing that excites you the most. And there's a lot of places that you can go to get recommendations for, like, here's classes that are easier or more difficult to play. Here's a suggestion for classes that you can try to play. Here's a bunch of pre-gens. And I think those are all excellent suggestions, and definitely take those into account and see if any of those interest you. But if you come to the table and your idea of D&D is Lord of the Rings, and so you're super excited to be Legolas, go ahead and play an archer of some sort. Play a ranger or play a fighter that does archery, and be a half-elf or an elf, and be that character no matter what you think if it's gonna be easier or more difficult to play. Be the thing that excites you. The thing for me that excites me, especially as I've played for a while, I like filling gaps in parties. So if I get together with a group, I will be the last person to pick what I'm playing, and because I like playing the thing that the party comp is missing. Oh, we've got someone who's going to be a melee person, we've got someone who's going to be a spellcaster, we've got someone who's going to be a ranged person, I'll be a healer, or I'll be a support character. Whatever that is. So talk with your players, talk with your DM, see what everybody's thinking about, see what excites you, and then either find a pre-gen or make the character that excites you. And remember that, once again, it's a fantasy world and it's all made up. And so if you sit down and you're like, I really want to be Legolas, yay! And you sit down with your archer, your elf archer, and you're like, this is great. And after a game or two, you're like, nah, you know what? I like Legolas. I didn't actually want to be Legolas. I actually wanted to be Gimli. Gimli sounds like super fun. Talk to your DM. Change who you're going to play. Give it a different try. Often, I've played in groups and where when that happened, we just shrugged and said, all right, you're Gimli now. Like, everybody would rather you're having fun than try to fix it in the role play. And then there's some groups who are like, all right, you're Gimli now. Let's figure out in the role play how that makes sense, and we'll weave that into the narrative. And either way works, but don't be afraid to try something and then be like, maybe I should try something else. Also, for new players and DMs, I highly recommend there's the Essentials kit and I've just lost the name of the other one. There's 2 box sets that Wizards of the Coast put out that are literally box sets to get you started with the game. I'm gonna look this up real quick because I feel awful that I'm not remembering, because it's the Essentials kit and I'm blanking on what the other one is, but I'll remember in a second. But what they come with is literally a set of all of the rules that you need for both the player and the DM. It comes with pre-generated characters if you want to use them, and it comes with an adventure that is specifically written for new players and a new DM. So it is friendly for everybody. So you can have a group of people who nobody knows anything about D&D at all, and sit down and it'll walk you through everything that you need. I'm going to look up this bundle because I feel like I'm not doing my job. It's the starter set and the Essentials kit. They're 2 names for the same thing. And essentially, the only difference between the 2 is the adventure that's included in them. The Essentials kit I really like. It's the newer one that got put out. If you come to D&D Beyond, not only do we have all of the stuff on D&D Beyond, but then there's extra adventures that continue. So like if you play through the adventure that's in the Essentials kit and your group wants to continue, we've got a whole bunch of extra adventures on our site that will continue to the higher levels. So definitely look either online or in a local game store or on D&D Beyond for one of those. And that literally is like, here's a bundle with everything you need to get started. You can also just find the free rules online. You can download a PDF of the basic rules for free. You can come to D&D Beyond and you can create characters and use all the free rules. You don't have to pay anything, which is one of the reasons that, especially right now, D&D has become so popular, is because you can get started 100% for free and you don't need any of the other stuff. The other stuff is fun and interesting and offers more locations and more character options, but the basic rules will get you for years.
Do you remember your first character, and what character are you currently playing?
Ooh. When I started playing in 4th edition a bunch of years ago, when I went to the game store and found, I was literally just, hey, here's a group that's been playing for a couple of weeks and you can join on in. And I did the thing that I do, which is, what's everybody playing? All right, what are we missing? Well, they were missing a healer, so I played a cleric. I played a cleric named Clyde. And he was named Clyde because I was doing all of the stats and figuring everything else out. And then the GM was like, oh, and what's their name? And that was the name that came out of my mouth. And that it was funny. So that was Clyde. I played him for a year and a half, I think, until our party TPK'd. I still have his mini right over there. I think he's a Warhammer mini. Because this is back in like 2010 and where finding minis was hard. But you could find like Warhammer stuff. So that was my first character, and he was the start of my history with clerics, because I have found, for whatever reason, when I join groups or when I form groups or whatever, and I'm playing, the thing that most people want to play are either magic users who are damage dealers, or they want to be the run-in and whack things. And very few people seem to want to be healers. But I like it. I love playing healers. So that was my first character. Right now, beyond all the DMing that I do, which for a while I was doing only DMing, because there was a period at the beginning of 5th edition where, and it's still kind of true, there were way more people wanted to play than DM. So there was several years where I didn't get to play at all. And I love DMing, but it's been really nice in the last couple of years to get back into a regular campaign. Right now, the 2 groups that I play on a regular basis with are both streams for D&D Beyond. We do, we started a year and a half ago a stream called Beyond Heroes. It was actually called Heroes of the Veil, and then we did 2 campaigns of that, and then we changed the name, same characters, and we're now called Beyond Heroes. And that I play a dragonborn cleric named Orkira, who is my baby. And I love playing her quite a bit. And our DM, Todd Kendrick, has done an amazing job with taking my character concept and running with her backstory and running with the things that she's wanted to do and her drives and her goals, and weaving them into the story in really interesting ways. So she's been my longest running character to date. And we're currently at level 11 and 12. We just leveled up, and so she's been going for a while. And then recently, in the last, it would have been month, because we're at episode 4, we started a new stream called Silver and Steel, which is DM'd by Jasmine Bueller, that bronze girl, and she's been fantastic, and it's her homebrew world. And because it's become this running gag that all I play is clerics, because it's happened a lot. And I'm a cleric on this other show. I had told everybody, because he's now a player in that game. So my DM in one game, I play with in the other. And I told him ahead of time, I'm like, I am not playing a healer of any kind, and I'm not playing a dragonborn. But I did the same thing I always do, which is, what's everybody playing? And I picked a character. So my character on Silver and Steel is a Warforged rogue named Kelly, and she is new to the world and a delight to play, and I'm trying to play her slightly off type, as far as she's not, like, when people, Warforged in D&D are automatons, they're robots. The history of them is they were created literally for war, and so the classic way that people think of them is a robot. And so I've been trying to play her in a slightly different way. She's still a rogue and stabs people with knives, but she's thin and light, and she has this backstory in where she was created by her father is like this loving father who kind of like the best version of Pinocchio, and she's very well aware of what she is and other and people in general, and she's very friendly and amicable and but also it came from a very dangerous place in the world, and so friendly and amicable, but she will kill you. So so she's been fun. She's been fun to play. She's just started her journey, and those are my two characters right now. And then everywhere else, I'm the DM. I play everybody else in the world.
Well, that's great, though. I mean, you know, you're expanding the community. You're helping the community as a community manager. Have you seen any stories or received any stories that, you know, well, D&D changed my life for the better because of this, etc.?
Yes, 100%. I hear stories. I've been told stories. I have personally witnessed it. I've personally gone through it. It's in a bunch of different ways, because it's a outlet, because it's a release, because it's a place you can go and have this, what can be a really deep emotional connection to you and your characters and the players that you're with, and have it be a safe place to have these stories happen. Yeah, for a lot of people, I've definitely heard of people who say this has become the thing that I look forward to every week. This has become the place I feel comfortable. For a lot of people, it becomes a place in where they can explore parts of themselves that they feel uncomfortable doing in their real world. They can do in this game setting, and where anything is possible. It's super powerful. It's an outlet that has that personal interaction in where you feel connected to the people that you're playing with in a way that is powerful. It's touching. I mean, both the games that I play in that I just talked about for D&D Beyond, many of those people were strangers to me when we started. The game was put together because it's a streamed game. It's not just that we're playing for entertainment, and so we're a cast that got put together. But these are now some of my closest friends. These are people that I talk to on a regular basis outside of the game. Same thing with the people that I started playing with when I showed up at a game store a bunch of years ago. These are friends who there's something about sharing your imagination with other people and feeling comfortable sharing your aspects of yourself that brings people closer together. And that is a connection that is needed by a lot of people. And whether it's a emotional story that is all just role playing and you don't ever touch dice, or whether it's a dungeon crawl that is all about kicking in the door and fighting monsters and getting loot, having that being able to inhabit that character in a way that you can't do when you're just reading a book or watching a movie or playing a video game, and where I'm making these choices and this is me playing, even if you're inhabiting a character of yourself, that's a powerful thing. And I know a lot of people who have had those stories of, this got me through a rough time. This was the reason I got out of bed in the morning, is because I had my D&D game to go to. This is the reason that I felt like this helped me continue on throughout the week so that I could make it to the weekend so that I could play this. And not just playing. I hear all the time of people watching some of the streams online. Critical Role is kind of the gold standard of, here is a show that has become important to people at helping them get through difficult times in their life, as escapism, as a connection to other people who are as interested in these people and these characters as they are. There's a lot of emotions that get wrapped up in D&D, and it can be cathartic. D&D is not therapy, but D&D is a place that you can come that can help you connect with other people, and that can be helpful for a lot of people.
As a community manager, what do you bring to D&D Beyond?
I do a lot. I am, in a lot of ways, the person who is the go-between between a lot of different people. My main job is to be the person who goes to the community and finds out what are they talking about, what do they want, what do they need, what are they happy with, what are they sad about, bringing that back to the rest of D&D Beyond, the devs. I'm not the only person, but that's kind of one of my main jobs. I'm also the person that takes what our company is doing and brings it to the community. I help run the social media. I help most of the posts that go out on our site are either I'm crafting them or I'm helping craft them. So I'm the main person bringing, here's what D&D Beyond is doing, here's our updates, here's an article, here's a video, here's a change to the character sheets. Once again, I'm not the only person, but I'm the main person bringing that to the community. I'm the person who is in charge of our moderator crew. So we have a wonderful... I could never keep up with the entire internet. It's impossible. I have an amazing crew of people who help on our Discord, on our forums, who help respond on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, who are on our Twitch channel, who are doing the job that I did for Wizards all those years ago, being in the space, answering questions, helping people out, pointing people in the right direction. I'm the person who oversees all of those. So I'm helping get them the information they need to answer questions in a timely manner. I'm showing up when people need backup. I'm the person who helps coordinate all of that. When conventions were happening, I'm one of the main people to go to the conventions and talk to people in person. I do stuff like this, what I'm doing right now here with you. I am doing community management because you don't manage my job title is a misnomer. I'm not managing a community. You don't manage a group of people who are not, like, I manage the mods because they're part of my team. The community, I interact with them. This is outreach. This is community interaction. So anything that I can do to keep in touch with people, to help people, I'm the contact person if you're running a charity game and using D&D as, which a lot of people have been doing the last couple of months. Has been an outpouring of love for charity games of, hey, we're going to play a silly game of D&D and come and donate to charity and affect the game, or donate to charity and get put in for a raffle. I'm one of the people you can contact at D&D Beyond so that we can try to help, whether it's offering you codes to use for product for your raffles or helping connect you with other people who can be in your games. We also help out with schools and libraries and clubs and stores that are running Adventures League or just groups of games. If you're the person in charge of a store and you're running 36 games in your store with a couple of DMs so that people can come and play, I'm someone who can help with stuff from D&D Beyond to help make those games easier, to help more people run more games, because it's the more people that can play, the bigger our community gets, and the bigger our community gets, the more diverse it gets, and the more diverse it gets, the better it is for everybody. So the more I can do to help other people play D&D in any way, shape, or form is a good thing. So on a weekly basis, my what I do changes. When conventions were going on, there were weeks in where I was on the road a lot. I was, I'm at this convention. I'm being on panels and talking to people. When we have product releases, a lot of it is just getting the information out. Hey, here's a new book that's coming out. Here's all the cool things that we're doing to help you play in this new world. Here's new character ideas. Here's tips and tricks for things that you can do with our homebrew. I'm running games on our Discord when I have the time. I just, you were talking about how hard it is to find a game. That's a consistent problem in just D&D in general, is finding people to get together with to play, because we're all adults. Even when you're kids, time is a thing. And getting a bunch of people together who all gel and want to continue to play can be difficult. So I help organize games. I run one shots. Anything that can help people play D&D, that's my job.
Well, I mean, if you sleep, that would be another good thing too, because it sounds like you're just up 24/7.
There's no sleep. I have, once again, I am not alone. I have an amazing team of people who are helping me, and that helps a lot. And I also have an amazing boss. Adam Bradford is the general. He's the person in charge of D&D Beyond, and he was very clear at the beginning, because social media is part of my job, that I do not let myself turn into the person who spends 24 hours online. Lately, it has been more difficult to pull myself away, because with the pandemic going on, the internet is most people's outlets, and D&D has been a way for most people, for a lot of people, to connect, and the internet's the only way to do it. So a lot of my job in the last month or two has been helping people do the thing they love, or do the thing that they want to do, to escape, to connect, to continue to be socially distant and be distantly social, helping them make that transition. Because I've been playing online for so long, and because this is my job. So it has been more difficult in the last couple of weeks and months, because we're trying to help a lot more people as quickly as possible. But once again, I'm not alone. I have an amazing group of people, and I'm not the only person doing this job. Everybody at D&D Beyond in some way is helping out, and I couldn't ask for better people to work with on a regular basis. They're some of my best friends, and I'm really, really lucky.
From a technology standpoint, obviously, with Twitch streams going on, with YouTube live streams, with all of these technological advances that we have, has D&D evolved successfully into the technological age?
I think so. Absolutely. For two reasons. One, I think a lot of people discovered D&D because D&D started to get broadcast online or through podcasting. I think in the same way that live plays, people watching plays, people watching other people play Minecraft, StarCraft, or Halo, or any of the video games that you can go to Twitch and watch people play, or Fortnite. Those are people who they're interacting with that game, and they're getting excited about the game, and many of those people then go out and play the game. D&D breaking into that space, because it can be hard to describe Dungeons and Dragons, but once you see it or once you play it, it totally makes sense. And so jumping into play can be intimidating, but watching a bunch of silly voice actors play D&D is like watching a play, is like watching an improv theater in front of you. And once you kind of watch it for a little while, you grab it real quick. Oh, this is, and so you may not get all the rules, but you understand what's going on, and you can be drawn into that world and those characters. And so broadcasting D&D, whether it's through listening to a podcast or watching it on Twitch, has been a giant boon, because people who are always interested but intimidated to play, but just needed to know a little bit more, what exactly is this thing, can now watch Critical Role or High Rollers or Rivals of Waterdeep or Silver and Steel or Beyond Heroes, or or they'll listen to a podcast and see what it is, actually watch it happen in a way that is easy. And that's an inspiring thing. They'd be like, oh yeah, okay, now I get it. Now I'll go out and get a game. And then the other side of that is you no longer are bound by the people in your physical location in order to play. You don't have to find someone at a local game store. You don't have to have a local game store. There's sadly a bunch of places in the world, even in the United States, that are remote, that do not have any place nearby that is a local game store that would have this kind of stuff. Or maybe you grew up in the 80s like me, and everybody wanted to tell you that you were worshiping demons when you played D&D. So, maybe you don't have a circle of people in physical space, but your online community is filled with people who would love to play D&D. And we've got so many ways of connecting through video chat, through Discord, through there's virtual tabletops out there. There's my company that has all this stuff just waiting for you to use online. It has never been easier, and the tools are so much more readily available to connect online. And the important thing about D&D is that connection. And so once you have that, how you do that, whether that's what we're doing right here over a Zoom call or in person, it's either way works. So yeah, absolutely. Technology has not just been something D&D has grabbed onto. I think it's helped spread the love for this game in ways that would never have been as popular as it is now, if not for Twitch and podcasts.
Good answer. I like that. Plus, I just saw there's something about digital dice as well.
Yeah, we just released digital dice. So if you are a subscriber, as of the recording of this, if you are a subscriber on D&D Beyond, you have access to digital dice, which basically means if you are on a character sheet, there's places in where you can just click and it'll roll the dice that you need and it'll tell you the math, which is often the most intimidating thing for a lot of people about D&D is the math. Because they see all these different shaped dice and all these modifiers, and it can seem like a lot of numbers. And really, all it turns into is roll a thing, add a thing, here's the result. And does the result, is it more than you need or not? And so the great thing about digital dice, and not only is it fun to watch the dice roll around the screen, but it literally is if your DM says, oh, hey, give me a perception check. Right there on your sheet, it has your perception and it has the number that you would normally add. You can just click on that and it'll roll the dice for you and it'll add that number for you and it'll just tell you the result, which helps speed up the game a lot. And also it doesn't mean you don't have to have physical dice if you don't want to. And so, yeah, if you're a subscriber, it's in alpha right now. But we will be rolling it out once we will be rolling it out once it gets to, I say that and then I realize it's a pun and then I'm like, all right, I gotta laugh at myself.
Yeah, Barbara would be proud.
She would be super proud. Barbara would love this. So right now you have to be a subscriber because it's still in alpha. We're still testing out new features. We're still bringing new options to the character sheets. We're still making it available in a lot of different ways. And then eventually it will be available to everybody. And you can use D&D Beyond for free. You can make character sheets and everything. So come and click on your modifiers and roll your dice. And we have a couple different dice sets that you can switch between. So if you have a preference for colors or styles, and more will be coming.
Stuff there. We're slowly reaching the end of the interview here. Unfortunately, I would love to talk to you for the next 3 hours or so, but I
feel like I've just been babbling at you. I feel like you've asked like 2 things and I've just gone off. So I don't know if we've been talking as much as I've just been talking at you. I'm so sorry.
I'm used to it.
You should play D&D. Well, all right. So let me ask before we run out of time, because you were like, I've always wanted to play.
Hold that thought.
I'm holding that thought.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I gotta ask, because it has been mostly me babbling and talking. You talked about how you've always been interested in playing D&D.
Yeah.
So if you had a chance to play Dungeons and Dragons, what kind of character would you like to play?
Well, because Dragonlance was a huge influence in my life,
Ooh.
and Raceland Majory specifically, I would probably have to be a human mage of some kind.
That's a good choice. You're gonna go for the whole hourglass eyes
totally.
and trying to you're gonna be that guy. All right, yeah. So there you go. Like that's how easy it was. You already had a frame of reference. You already had Dragonlance. A lot of the people that when I asked that question, if they're like, well, I don't know what you can be in D&D, I'm like, who's your favorite Marvel character? You know, what's the last adventure movie that you watched? So Raceland. All right, we'll have to get some evocation wizards up for you to play.
The last couple of questions I have for you are the following. And before we do that, though, is there anything that you'd like to share that we haven't touched upon for those that are listening and watching this?
I guess I'll plug stuff. Why not? So yeah, come to dndbeyond.com. That's where all the fun stuff is. That's also where you can see the 2 shows that I'm on. But we have a whole slate of shows over the week at our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/D&D Beyond. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Obo Lauren, and I usually talk about D&D or classical music stuff or just random snacks. Usually those 3 things. I also have the podcast that I talked about, Dungeon Drunks, which comes out every Monday, and you can find that at Dungeon Drunks. So if you would like to listen to a podcast that now has well over 200 episodes because we just don't ever stop playing, that's my podcast, and I'm the DM for that.
Everyone has that one person that kind of inspires them on their path to where they are today. Who is that for you?
I don't know if I could pick one person.
Okay, pick a couple.
Oh, jeez. All right, I'll start with my dad. My dad is a giant... I mean, both my parents are geeks, but my dad is a giant geek. My dad is the one that we would sit and watch Star Trek episodes and laugh at the silly FX and then talk about the themes. He's the one that we would go see movies together the few times I would go see movies. He's the one that is now in his retirement still kicking my ass at Destiny when we play together and has a way better light level than I do. He was a psychologist for the state of New York. So both of my parents were very open and kind and supportive of this weird geeky kid who wanted to play video games in a time in where that was super not cool, and wanted to use a computer when people didn't know what that was, and wanted to play classical music instead of going out to play. And they have always been my biggest fans. And so them, for sure. I am super blessed to have had the 2 of them. And yeah, my dad is still a better geek than I will ever be. He has built computers that I have never been able to build, so I still have to match him. I've had a bunch of different professors and teachers throughout the years that in a profession, and it is kind of true for D&D because it is incredibly hard to make a living in any creative profession, and D&D is no different. But my teachers in the classical music world, as honest and supportive as they have been, I had a teacher who gave me a piece of advice that I use basically every day, especially with getting into the performative D&D, getting into playing D&D for streams and podcasts and stuff. There's a lot of people who have gotten now into doing that and have dealt with performance anxiety or stage fright issues, or things that are just, they are normal, but they can feel very isolating. And nerves are a thing. Even if you're not playing on a stream, it can be nervous to play with other people in D&D and feel like I'm just making a fool of myself. I'm going to put on a silly voice and everybody's going to laugh at me. And that can be nerve-wracking for a lot of people. And I had a piece of advice from a teacher many years ago that said, nerves mean you care. And if you care, people will see it and they will root for you. So it doesn't help with the nerves as far as making them go away, but it helps to feel better about the nerves. It helps to understand, oh no, if I'm nervous, it means I care. It doesn't mean if you're not nervous that you don't care, but like that the nerves are okay and that everybody has them. And my husband has made me laugh every day of my life that I've been with him, and thank the universe for him, because sometimes it is hard to be the person who helps everybody else, and so he is the person who helps me.
Say that again.
I'm laughing, but it's true. It's totally true.
I had to switch videos, so that didn't catch your response.
Oh, well, he's Canadian, and so that just comes with being Canadian.
Of course. That, and along with our penguins and our mooses as well, too, as pets. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And polar bears. Can't forget the polar bears.
And his Wolverine.
True. Very true.
We're over here on the West Coast, so we've got more Wolverines.
From a professional standpoint, you're successful in terms of being a professional oboist. You've done a wonderful career with that. from a moderator slash geek slash gamer person that you are. You're successful with being a community manager. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
Sometimes, sometimes, sometimes not. I don't know. It depends. It depends on the day. It depends on uh how much I feel like I've gotten done. Imposter syndrome is a thing. And so sometimes no. Sometimes I feel like I'm a giant imposter in a world filled with people who are way better than me. Sometimes I'm better about recognizing my own self-worth. Sometimes I need other people to help with that. So,
Okay.
right now, kind of. Right now, I'm having that moment and where I'm like, my ego says yes, absolutely, but the other part of my body says no, no. He wouldn't ask you that if it didn't mean that there was a question about how successful you are. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes not.
Fair enough. Then, how do you deal with your failures?
Oh, so failure is it's easier when I know what went wrong and it's something that I did. It can hurt more because, oh, I screwed up. Like, it's one thing to fail and to objectively look at it and say, there's nothing I could have done differently. That's not usually the case. Usually, if you failed at something, there's something that could have changed. But often there isn't. I've done plenty of auditions as a professional oboist where I've shown up and I've been really happy with how I played. Was just I come out of how I performed feeling super confident. And that can be a rare thing. That can be the kind of thing, because you're your own worst critic. And so it can be really hard to perform and not nitpick yourself. And so there have been auditions I've gone to that I've walked off stage smiling, like I nailed that. And I don't make it to the second round. And is that a failure? Yes. Is that something I could have done differently? I don't know. I don't think so. And so in those cases, it's recognizing I did everything I could and I think I did everything right and I need to just move on. And then there are the failures that are like, oh no, this thing, I screwed that up. That's where I screwed up. And so for me, it is identifying that and then focusing on the steps to fix it instead of the depression of messing it up, which is hard and I'm more successful at sometimes than others. But yeah, it's all right. Why did I fail at this? Here's the thing I did wrong. Here's the thing I could have done better. Here's the thing that now I know better. Now I'm more experienced at this. Now I have more, information. How do I fix what has gone wrong and how do I not make that same mistake in the future? So, how I can avoid doing the same mistake twice is how I deal with failure.
The younger generation are looking at you as a DM and as a community manager and as a person that plays on the various streams that you do and podcasts. And they're becoming inspired to do maybe the same thing or something along that line. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
In either D&D or in music, do it. Join us. Don't let someone tell you can't. Because there's more people in the music industry than there are in the D&D industry who are going to say no, or are going to try to dissuade you, who are going to say it's too hard, or you're not the right kind of person, or you don't have the right kind of background, or whatever it is. Go ahead and do it. And get into playing D&D, get into playing music, put the podcast out there, put the Twitch stream out there, put yourself out there and play. Do the thing. If you are passionate about it, do it. I can't guarantee you'll be successful at it. I was not. I still sometimes am not. I have been very unsuccessful at being a professional at this for a very long time, and many people are. And just because you don't make a living at it doesn't mean you're not successful at it. It just means that it's hard, and there's a lot of people who want to do the same thing. But don't let the lack of experience or people telling you that you shouldn't because of whatever reason dissuade you from trying. Be the person who plays. If you are in a D&D group and you are in in a group and where people are saying, no, don't do that, or telling you you can't be a kind of person, or you can't be a kind of player, or you can't play a kind of character, leave, because those are not D&D players. Those are assholes. And go find a group of actual D&D players who are going to say, yeah, let's help you do the thing you want to do. If you are a classical musician, if you are want to be a classical musician and people are telling you you can't play the instrument that you want to play, or they're telling you that you're never going to be successful and they're just trying to dissuade you, go find the people who want to help you. Go find a teacher who wants you to play. Go find a group that is happy that you will join. And yeah, for both things, it's go do the thing. There are going to be people who are going to tell you you can't do the thing. Do the thing anyway.
All right. Well, I hate to say it, Lauren, but that particular point is a great way to end this episode, of course, Two Geeks Talking. I know it's been a wonderful ride. I've learned a lot, truly I have. And I think that I'd love to have you on the show again to talk about this and other stuff in the future for sure.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for listening to me ramble for an hour or so. And I hope that you'll get a chance to play D&D in the future at some point.
I might have to make a trip out to Seattle to do that, but it is what it is.
You do not listen. If you want to come to Seattle, I will happily hang out and we will play D&D. You do not have to make the trip though. I am positive you can find people. First off, you can find people locally. Once the pandemic is over. Yeah. Also, hey, we have the internet.
That is true. I'll have to figure something out for sure. One last plug for your website and any other social media. I know you did it earlier, but let's just finish it off to keep consistent here.
Sure. Come to dndbeyond.com and do all the D&D. Come to my Twitter if you want to hear more about me. Obo Lauren. I talk about D&D and music and snacks. That's the best places to find me. Everything else I do ends up on one of those two places, often both.
Good stuff. All right. Well, like I said, that ends this episode of Two Geeks Talking. You can find this interview and everything else that I've done on the interwebs at tgtmedia.com, as well as on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGTmedia. I'm on social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, at Kurt Sasso. And tune in next week for another great interview with another creative person. Who that is, I don't know because I haven't asked them yet. But they'll be on either way. Thanks for listening, watching. Oh, and make sure you hit the like and subscribe because I only have 67 people. Get me to 1,000 and I'll get you some more content. Thanks a lot.